Pond boss, tell me what I need to raise a big old honking moss bass.
Yeah.
Line breaking, tack tearing up moss bass.
Let's talk about trophy fish.
Hey, Mr. Pond boss, tell me what to do to make all my lunker lake
Pond Boss
dreams
Magazine.
come true.
Hello, everybody. Bob loves the Pond Boss. Coming to you straight live from Pond Boss World Headquarters over here in Gordonville, America. Glad to see you guys. Hey, got a number of things to talk about. Good to see you folks. Got a little hurricane brewing out there in the Gulf of Mexico. Uh-oh, I better turn that sound off. Whoop, there it goes. Now I can see everybody. Now I know what's going on. See Michael Trail, Kevin Wright, John Funk, Christopher Aguilar. I was wondering if you'd be on here. Dude, what are you doing? You got a hurricane barreling down at 15 miles an hour, about ready to hammer South Louisiana. So what in the world are you going to do? John Funk wants to know how our weather is. Let me tell you, Ken Dowd, hey, buddy. I see, looks like I see Connie Bingaman, a.k.a. Fred. Looky there. Good to see you guys. Mike Cottrell, I think I said hi. If I didn't, hello. John, our weather is really cool. We had a little front pass, and we've gotten a little bit of the outer bands of this hurricane all the way up into northern Texas. We had a nice shower. Here we are, August 26th, and it's 77 degrees outside. Typically, right out here, out this window, it's about 98 to 101 about right now in this time of year. And our temperatures are finally starting to mitigate and go down a little bit, but that's pretty typical for August. However, 77 degrees at 6:30 is not normal. Hey, I want to know what's going on with you guys. I called Ron Ardoin today and another fella that I know down there in South Louisiana. They got phone numbers, and they're talking like I didn't get to make contact with Ron. I'm a little worried about him with Lake Area Pond Management. I'm worried about him. But you know what, though? You guys in South Louisiana, this is not your first hurricane. It's not your first rodeo. But when I'm hearing the news on the Metroplex down the road here just a little ways, saying that the storm surge, it's an unsurvivable storm surge. That's spooky to me. When they're saying an unsurvivable storm surge as far as 30 miles inland, with wind speed sustained upwards of 145 miles an hour, which makes it a Category 4 hurricane, getting ready to make an angle north. It's going to hit Beaumont, Port Arthur, Lake Charles, Louisiana. It looks like it's going to run straight north from there, and we'll see what happens. The good news is it's moving fast, but the bad news is it's deadly. So I hope that our friends are taking heed, which if you live in the Gulf, you know what to do. But I'd feel a little more comfortable if you'd tell me how you're doing. Christopher, matter of fact, the Boudin man, he knows the drill. Hashtag Pond Boss Magazine in the comments section. Click like and share this to your newsfeed. You're eligible for a drawing for a Pond Boss hat. Yep, we've got like 4 left until Leanne's got to order some more. And a Pond Boss mug. Now, I'm going to keep this one. It had cough syrup in it last week. Or 2 weeks ago. I skipped last Wednesday. Last Wednesday, good gosh, I poured a lot of miles. I worked on a 97-acre lake, a real beautiful setting called Ransom Canyon, southeast of Lubbock, Texas. It's about just short of a 100-acre lake that's been there for over 50 years. I think 55 years old. It's shallow. It's had 2 fish kills from golden algae. Well, there's some young new landowners there, and there's like 900 homes down in this canyon off the Cap Rock out in West Texas. Beautiful, stunning beauty. And they want to see what they can do to make that lake better. Well, I worked on the lake on Tuesday, and then I headed home Wednesday morning, met a couple of guys, and looked at some ponds out that way on Wednesday morning. Then I headed home, dropped off the electrofishing boat, grabbed my wife, and then I went down to babysit kids. So I did, I think, 690 miles last Wednesday, so I wasn't sloughing off. I missed hanging out with you guys, but that's what I did. So let's see here. I got a couple of topics, a couple of requests. Deb Bell wants to know about how do you establish vegetation in a brand new 4-acre lake, 4-acre plus lake. And another question is, you talk about trophy fish, but you only talk about trophy bass. Can you talk about trophy other fish, specifically catfish? Yeah, I can do that. So I'm going to talk about that some today. So before I do that, of course, I always say, hey, thanks for coming on. Pond Boss Magazine, $35 a year, cheaper than a Friday night date, and lasts a year. If you'll do those three things, hashtag Pond Boss Magazine, click like, you'll be eligible for a drawing for a Pond Boss mug that knows how to, say it with me, that's right, keep hot things hot and cold things cold. We don't know how it does, but it does. And a Pond Boss hat. Oh, by the way, I meant to go back in the closet. I've got some fish posters. I've got some posters that show pretty much all the species of sunfish that are common in ponds in the United States. It's a big wall poster. So if anybody subscribes to Pond Boss in the next 4 or 5 days, let's do it this way. If you subscribe to Pond Boss in the next 5 days, in the notes when you subscribe online at pondboss.com, click poster. Now I'll tell Leanne to send you guys a poster. I think we sell them for like $7 or something. But I got a big old stack of them, and I'd love for y'all to have some because they're not doing us any good sitting back here in the storage room where they could be doing you some good out there on your boat dock in the boathouse. So let's see who all we got showing up here. I said hello to Ken Dow, John Funk, Kim Moore, Keith Trabig, good to see Keith, Justin Shank from California A, Jason Nebstad, good to see you, Jamie Clayton. I think I answered your question a while ago. Matter of fact, I know I did. Christopher Aguilar is eating boudin, waiting for this hoochie mama to come ashore. My good friend David Nelson with Purina Mills sent me a video a while ago that showed, these big, thick, like 4-inch ratchet straps that you see on tractor trailers. Somebody had run a ratchet strap across their roof and anchored it to a boat parked in a driveway next door, going across the top of their roof, the porch, and anchored it to a chain link fence post in their neighbor's yard, hoping to keep their roof from blowing off. Weird. All right, Chauncey Biggs, good to see you, man. Mike Cottrell, sending rain to Palo Pinto. You know what? I hope it tracks off west. We actually got a little band of that rain that swept over us a couple hours ago. It was very nice. Very nice. Tom Blasdell, Travis Paul Smith, feeding that MVP. Roger Peterson answered your question a few minutes ago. Wayne Lancaster, the pond looks fantastic after Charlie got through with it. Well, here's the deal on that. Wayne and Josie, this is their Wednesday evening date. And now they get to hang out together. So, because Wayne has a tendency to be gone sometimes on Wednesdays. So they get together on their iPads and computers and stuff, and they watch this together, and then they text back and forth. But I've had the pleasure to meet both of them and take a look at their pond. And their pond over there in central Texas, not far from Meridian, Texas, got loaded up with bushy pondweed. And it took a while to get it treated, but now they've got it treated, which means that the pondweed is dissipating. I'm sure the water's beginning to turn green because when the nutrients of those pondweeds are released, it fertilizes the water and helps promote a plankton bloom. Now, this time of year, if you're going to treat plants, you got to be pretty picky about that. You don't want to go out there and kill a whole bunch of them at once. David Schneiderman, Easy Docs. Good to see David. David, you sent me an email a couple of weeks ago that I've been traveling, so I haven't had a time, but I do have a Texas Hunter feeder that I'll talk to you about if you want it. So let's see here. Christopher, we tough, we got this. Yeah, I don't doubt that one bit. You guys, you know what you're doing. It's just kind of spooky when you live up here in North Texas. You know, I've been through a couple of hurricanes. I've been through Hurricane Alicia, which was 1983. The eye wall passed right over. So I was on the Texas Gulf Coast at that time. So I know how scary that can be. You know, and nobody wants to be complacent, but nobody wants to go, above what they need to do. But I know this, you get one shot at it. And I will always remember what Ray Scott told me one time. He's got this shooting a commercial for these automatic inflatable, PFDs. And he said, looked at me, put his arm around me, he says, Pond Boss, he says, you know why people don't wear life jackets? And I said, well, Ray, why not? He said, because they've never drowned. If they ever drown, they'll start wearing a life jacket. It kind of hit me right in the feels. Michael Eric hit high 90s in Iowa the last few days. I'm so ready for ice fishing. You know what? I'll tell you this. When when you're thinking about ice fishing and you can't do it, that's the time to be getting ready for ice fishing. So Michael, what I want you to do, you guys in Iowa, in the Midwest and areas north of that, I want you to start thinking about what can you do now to get ready for great ice fishing here in a few months. Because what you do now is going to influence your ice fishing. So think about that. It's already 6:40, and I really want to get on topic, but I also want to see what all is going on here. Ron Ardoin is going to be in the eye of the hurricane. Well, I know you guys are far enough inshore that you don't have to worry about the storm surge. And I hope you're not hanging out at the Cabon. Hope you're hanging out in a brick structure, and I hope that's not your roof that I saw strapped down in that video a while ago. Chad Roberts, good to see you. Jamie Clayton, let's see what else we got here. Holy cow, I'm already behind, and we just got started. John Funk going to talk trophy fish. He's got trophy bullheads, yep. Let's see, Travis Paul Smith, strongest hurricane in the history of Louisiana. Well, we're going to see how it plays out. Travis, let's see, you prepare for the worst and pray for the best. That's absolutely right. All right, let's see, Chad Roberts, new subscriber and new Facebook follower, ordered all older issues and watched archive Facebook shows. Holy cow, man, you must be interested. That's cool. The info on these discussions are alone worth the money. Hey, $35, man, cheaper than a Friday night date, just like I say. That's my deal. We got our Cajun buddies checking in with each other. How big is a trophy channel cat? John Funk's asking. Bigger than one you've ever caught. You know, the thing about talking about trophy fish that's really interesting to me is a trophy to you may not be a trophy to me, or a trophy to me may not be a trophy to you. You know, when you're talking about largemouth bass, for example, a trophy bass is 4 pounds. But that's not a trophy bass. You know, a trophy bass is more like 8 or 9 or double digits. You know, so I want to catch up with all this stuff that we got going on. We got a bunch of conversations. Our folks are loving on each other and caring for each other. But I want to go to Deb Bell's question, and then I'm going to circle back and talk about trophy fish other than largemouth bass. So the Bells, Jack and Deb Bell, had just built a 4.3 acre pond in Denton County, Texas. And they, maybe Cook County. But bottom line is, it's brand new. It's just now filling up. They've stocked some forage fish in it, getting ready to add some more forage fish. And they've understood that the reason for having some aquatic plants is to have good, safe habitat for newly hatched bait fish or newly hatched fish, period. So here's the thing about aquatic plants. Aquatic plants roll. It's the aquatic plants in a pond or lake serve a handful of roles. The most important one is to have dense cover so that newly hatched fish can have a safe place. I hate that word, but I'm going to use it. Have a safe place. Have a safe place where they can come right off the spawning beds and go in and hide and feed and grow without being eaten prematurely. Nobody likes premature eating. Nobody wants the fish to be eaten way too fast. Here's what I mean. A little bitty baby bluegill or a baby bass, when it's first hatched, about 12,000 of them weigh a pound. They're that big. And if you can imagine a fish this big, how big its mouth is, it ain't very big at all. You know, and when a fish is first hatched, the only food that it has is the yolk of what was its egg. Once it absorbs that, it has no body fat. It's got to feed immediately. If it doesn't eat with a high metabolism rate, it's going to starve to death. So it's got to be able to pick something out of the water column or pick something off of something. Like American pondweed, for example. That's great plants because periphyton and algae can grow on that plant, and little bitty fish can peck on it and eat it. Little insects can eat it, and the fish can eat the insects. So, Deb, what I'm going to tell you and everybody else is establishing aquatic plants. Here's my general rule of thumb. Aquatic plants are going to grow in water that's 2.5 to 3 feet deep or less. And believe it or not, there are seed banks out there, and seeds are distributed, especially in the fall, by migratory waterfowl. And a lot of those seeds are native seeds, and those seeds will sprout in your pond. My son Jonathan completely renovated a pond that was about 1/10 of an acre. It was a marsh. It didn't have anything in it. It was just a kind of a swampy, muddy mess. They pushed all the silt out. Clint did all that with, Clint Stephens down down around Houston. Great pond builder. He took his dozer. He shoved all the silt out. shoved all this stuff out, reshaped the pond, built a new dam, built a new spillway, and the pond filled up. Within 4 months, bladderwort showed up. And there was no way that that bladderwort was in that pond prior to, unless when that pond was cleaned out, there was a tiny fraction of amount of seeds that were left behind. But he did send me some pictures of migratory waterfowl in the springtime. This was done about a year ago. The pond was renovated about a year ago. And now he's got little patches of bladderwort, which is a pond that typically grows in more acidic waters. It doesn't have roots. It migrates around the pond, and it can get out of hand if you let it. Well, right now it's great habitat. So, Deb, what I'm going to tell you is first, see what grows. Now, when you're designing a pond like 4.3 acres, if you want plants to grow in certain areas, leave topsoil in those areas where the water's shallow. If you don't want plants to grow there, get rid of the topsoil, and that's going to put off plants growing. It won't happen till later once some soil washes down into that shallow area. Now, what I like to do is see what nature has to offer. Now, in the meantime, when you're establishing a fishery, having some brush piles in there until plants can establish is a smart thing. You know, some dense, think dense like a Christmas tree. Think dense like a cedar tree or brush piles. Now, the thing about cedar trees and Christmas trees, things like that, they're temporary. Those things are going to break down and be gone within a couple of years, 18 months, 2 years. Cedar trees, the big limbs are left over after 3 years. The rest of the tree's gone. I've seen many brush piles we've put in ponds over years that deteriorate, and you can't even find them on a depth finder in year 4. They're gone. You might be able to see a trunk that's sunk down in the mud because we laid them down flat, horizontal. So if you're going to build some brush piles or put some trees in there, stand them vertically. Put them into a bucket with concrete where they can stand up in water that's fairly shallow. Now, if you're going to have a 6-foot cedar tree and a 5-gallon bucket full of concrete, put it in water about 7 or 8 feet deep. Then it fills the void of the water column, but it doesn't stick out of the water. You want it below the water for safety. I don't have the same cough syrup I had a couple of weeks ago. Let's see, found this in the refrigerator. I hope it's not Leanne's because I took it. It's called Silver Falls Mountain Mist. Never heard of it. If y'all have that, let's see what's in it. Carbonated water, high fructose corn syrup, that's healthy. Natural flavors, whatever that means. Citric acid, sodium benzoate, which is a preservative. Caffeine, that's what I was after. Gum arabic, glycerol, ester of wood, what? Ester of wood rosin. Ester of wood rosin? It smells kind of earthy. Smells like Mountain Dew. Yellow 5, brominated vegetable oil. Oh, Lord. Don't tell my wife I'm drinking this nasty stuff. I got to keep that throat lubricated. So, where I was going about these aquatic plants. Now, if you get into the spring next year and plants are not growing, then look at starting some plants. Depending on where you are, American pondweed, Vallisneria, which is eelgrass, that's a great choice. You can have Illinois. So most of the pondweeds are pretty healthy. Some of them can become invasive. Bushy pondweed's a classic example. Wayne and Josie have got bushy pondweed, and it covered up over 60% of their pond within about 8 weeks this spring. And you can't get out and enjoy a pond when you've got that much bushy pondweed. You know, and so honestly, this year was the perfect year for bushy pondweed to explode. Last year wasn't, next year may not be, but this year was perfect. It was the coronavirus of underwater ponds and underwater environments in this part of the planet this year. But be looking at native plants. I love native plants. Curly leaf pondweed in the Midwest and the North is a good one. Now, one of the problems with curly leaf pondweed is it really, really loves cooler waters, but the good news is it loves cooler water. So when the water temperature starts to go up, it starts to go back as some of the other weeds are growing up. So if you've got 4 or 5 different kinds of weeds 4 or 5 different kinds of plants under the water, and you got them adjacent to spawning beds, and you've got them where the habitat's good. The other thing that I like about rooted aquatic plants is its edge cover. So those bass, doesn't take long for them to figure out that there's bait fish hanging out in those plants. And what they'll do is they'll just hang around in the edges. So you can throw a crankbait or you can throw a spinner bait right along the edge of that vegetation, and it makes for fun fishing. All right, so there we go. I'm going to talk about that. Now we're going to get into some trophy fish management here. Tom Conto, Drew Hay, hope yin's all weather well down that way. Yep, there we go. He's right. Sean Peters, Tom Conto, you helped me out with clearing my pond, applying alum. What pH do you recommend I keep the water level that I have channel cat and crappies in my pond? You know, I don't talk much about water chemistry, so let me just throw that out there. The best pH is somewhere between 6 and 8, which is 7. So if your pH can be hovering around somewhere, 6.8, 7.4, that's perfect. But fish can live from like 5.3 to 8.5. Now, if you don't know what pH is a measurement of the acidity or basicity of your water. Water, without going into a long lecture, water, scientists call it the universal solvent. Anything that can dissolve into water will dissolve into the water. And that's what causes the pH to go up and down, whatever is dissolved in the water or not dissolved into the water. You get heavy amounts of an acid, like tannic acid, coming off of pine needles or through soils that don't have a lot of minerals, your pH is going to go down. But if you're flowing through areas that got, limestone, potassium salts, gypsum deposits, the pH is going to go up. There's Harrison Davis checking in. Good to see him. Todd Austin, Tom Blasdale, South Louisiana. Looking forward for some rainfall so you can plant fall food plots. Yep, you could use the dirt for baby powder. Boy, isn't that the truth. Look at there. There's Morgan Tyler from Purina Mills. Morgan Tyler is one of these guys that he is an avid outdoorsman. He's got a daughter that he's raising right, bringing her up, or she's spending time out in the woods. How many little girls do you know? Of course, all y'all are going to raise your hands. That will pick up and hold a fish and give it a kiss. Oh, a few hands went down. Well, he's got one of those. And I can't thank Purina enough for helping sponsor this show. But I tell you, one of my favorite things about Purina Mills is it's one of the few companies I've been able to work with that care what I think about what they can do to provide better products for our industry. And I deeply appreciate that. And because of their openness and listening to guys like me with superior nutritionists on staff, they've created the best pond products to grow big fish. And that's what their feeds do, is grow big fish. Now, if you want to feed fish and kind of supplement them, they've got those products. But if you want to grow some 2-pound bluegills or some hybrid striped bass to trophy sizes, which I'm going to get into in just a second, they've got the feeds for that. Let's see there. Travis Paul Smith, Texas Hunters are full. Just ordered some antler max, so he's going to be feeding his deer. Mark Dauber had a pretend small birthday party for Ray today. You know what? That's right. Ray Scott, BASS, his birthday's Sunday. I need to give him a call. I'll ring him up. There's Kelly Duffy. Helena, there's our resident aquatic plant expert. Kelly, I don't know if you got to hear what I was talking about with aquatic plants a while ago, but if you got something, chime in, man. Bill Russell from South Alabama. Todd, did you say ice fishing? Yeah, baby, I sure did. Right now's the time to be working on your pond to get it primed and ready for ice fishing. Now, here, let me tell you what I mean by that. If you don't have fish attractors in there where you don't have to go shopping and drilling 14 holes in your pond's ice in December, January, February, get you some fish attractors in there now. Buy some mossback fish attractors. Get some of Matt Marsden stuff. Get some of the porcupine fish attractors. Build your own and put them in the water and get those fish accustomed to those fish attractors, and you're going to be able to congregate your fish in that deeper water in the winter and be able to catch them better. Plus, if you will feed your fish moderately, Aquamax MVP or one of the Aquamax pond products or one of the Aquamax like 500, one of the high protein feeds, you can get your fish in body condition to where they're going to be ready to go and and in good shape going into the winter. Let's see here. Nate Herman. He said you need to prep now. Yeah, that's right. So you tag Nate Herman. Well, maybe Nate will check in. We need to get him in. But Brad Brantley, how do you get the poster? Subscribe to Pond Boss Magazine and put in the notes. Or send me an email, and if you'll pay the postage, I'll just send you one. What's the best largemouth bass stocking strain option for trophy bass in southern Indiana? You know, I'll tell you this, Chris. I think that the F1 tiger bass would do really good in southern Indiana because they can live under the ice. Now, what I don't know is can you legally stock them in Indiana? So you need to check your Game and Fish Commission on that. Chuck Brinkman, missed a couple of Wednesdays. Well, I missed one too. I missed last Wednesday. Steve Lewis, praying for the folks in Louisiana. Supposed to track over Hot Springs. Well, you know, by the time it gets to you, Steve, I'm hoping it's still moving fast enough that it'll blow by and not flood you guys out. Michael Eric, we had 130 mile an hour straight winds a couple of weeks ago, and it ripped the aluminum platform off a dock that my Texas Hunter feeder was lag bolted to. I've yet to find them with my Hummingbird side or down image. Any other ideas on locating my feeder? Holy cow! You know, I tell you this, it just pisses me off that the media didn't cover that deresh. Now, what that is hurricane force winds. Iowa got zero national coverage about that, and it devastated people on that part of the planet. And I wish I had something to say about it to somebody that needs to have something said about it, but I don't. So I'll just say it right here. Y'all got cheated. Not only was your weather crappy, but you didn't get the coverage you should have gotten. And if I hadn't dug around, I might not even known about it. I didn't know you lost your feeder, but I'll tell you this, if you can get your feeder back up, find it in the pond and get it up there, turn it back into a feeder from fish structure, it wouldn't surprise me if the motors are still good, the timer's probably toast, the battery may be okay, you know, if it didn't short out, it didn't arc and blow it up, but it wouldn't surprise me if that motor's still good. So, man, I'd see if I could find it and dig it out. I see Larry Lake checking in. East Texas. I was over in East Texas today looking at the lake site over near Jacksonville, Texas. There's John Wilson. Good to see John. Fred says, Woodford Reserve is better. Yes, it is. It's a lot better. Grant Rogers, my small half-acre pond is one area that's rather shallow, 3 feet deep. Eurasian watermilfoil has become rather thick. What's a safe, effective way to remove it all from my pond? Grass carp will eat it. Granular Navigate works well on that. Harrison Davis is right. Now, be careful that you don't kill too much of it. You're not saying how much that it covers, but if it covers less than 1/4 of an acre of the pond or 1/4 of the pond, then it's okay to take it all out at once, but I'd be real careful because when you kill that milfoil, even if you spot treat it, one of the things that Eurasian watermilfoil does is it does not like cloudy water. It likes to suck nutrients not only from the mud of the pond bottom, but it likes to suck nutrients out of the water column, which makes it expand. But when you kill some of that and the water gets fertile, that milfoil the rest of it that's not dead tends to go away. I've seen that happen over and over and over. All right, let's see. Chad Roberts have a 1 acre pond in central Ohio. Largemouth bass, yellow perch, bluegill. I like that hybrid strappers as a bonus catch fish, but don't want to break the food chain. So how many would you stock? I'd stock 25 and feed them. Now the good news about hybrid striped bass, matter of fact, I'm going to go ahead and shift gears a little bit. We got 52 people watching, so I'm going to go and get on that topic. Do you help manage larger lakes, Bob? Yes, I do. I looked at a 77 acre one today. I've managed lakes. I designed a 650 acre lake in Mexico. I've worked on lakes as big as 3,000 acres. The problem with those is there's not usually a very good budget for a lake that big to make a big difference. However, the answer is yes, I do work on bigger lakes, and I would love to help. So if you want that, I would do it. Or at least look at it with you and talk about it. All right, I'm going to scroll real fast and get down through these, see what else we got, and then I'm going to hit the trophy bass stuff. Let's see, Jeff Thompson. In my bluegill hatchery pond, the small fish are fighting over the larger pellets while the Grower 400 is not being eaten as much. Makes no sense to me. Well, that Grower 400 has a tendency to sink, so it wouldn't surprise me if they're feeding on it as it sinks. Let's see, Harrison Davis, good advice. KC Chadwick, still picking up habitat for our pond in Iowa. Thank God it was completely drained and renovated. That's a great way to go. If you can do that, man, you're way ahead. Christopher Aguilar headed out to cook dinner and finish prepping. What that means to guys like me is you're putting plywood over the windows, making sure the shutters are battened down, the garage doors are latched, and that you guys got your pumps ready, and that you have an escape route, and that you're not going to let water infiltrate. You got this. Dave Weber up there around Kansas City, is it true that bluegill will spawn on each full moon during the 28-day intervals when the water... Yes, they will. Now, what typically happens, like in the northern ponds, they won't spawn until June or late June, early July, which means they'll spawn once or twice. But where you are, Dave Weber, they should spawn at least 3 times, because they'll start spawning when the water temperature hits the mid-60s, and they'll do it again and do it again until the water temperature drops below the mid-60s, gets into the 50s. So they'll spawn in phases of the full moon as long as they're developing their eggs. So it's not just an issue of the full moon, it's also an issue of, do they have the nutrition they need to develop their eggs adequately enough to where they can those eggs can mature and be viable. So that plays a role as well. So if they haven't developed enough eggs that are mature by the next phase of the full moon, they'll wait till the next one. So that's another reason I think feeding fish food is a good idea. Speaking of feeding, I already said thanks to Purina, but I want to say thanks to Texas Hunter. Oh, by the way, on the drawing, I forgot to tell you, we got some Texas Hunter hats in. So when we have the next drawing, we'll have a Palm Boss hat, Palm Boss mug, a Texas Hunter hat, and you know what? We'll throw in a fish poster for the next drawing. And if you'll go ahead and subscribe to Palm Boss Magazine, $35 a year, cheaper than a Friday night date, and lasts a whole year, then we'll throw in a fish poster as well. So, Jason Rayfield, I'm using an off-brand game fish feed and looking to switch to Purina Aquamax. Which kind do I use if my ultimate goal is to have bigger largemouth bass by feeding my brim? Also want to feed my channel cats too, but brim, okay, I would feed Aquamax MVP. That's 9 different pellet sizes, which means you can feed the small bluegill, from that size all the way up to that size. So if you want to feed more bluegill so they can feed more bass, use Aquamax MVP. That's a great fish food. Thanks to Texas Hunter for sponsoring this. Thanks to David Schneiderman and Easy Docs for sponsoring this show. Let's see here. Yep, Travis is endorsing Purina fish food. Okay, let's talk about growing some trophy fish other than largemouth bass. I don't remember who emailed me, but I got an email earlier today or yesterday or sometime. Somebody said, what about channel cat as a trophy fish? Can we grow channel cat? Yes, you can. And the hard part about trying to grow trophy largemouth bass to giant sizes is you've really got 2 jobs with a largemouth bass. You've got to get them to 17.5 or 18 inches as fast as you can. Because once they hit that 18-inch size and they're 3 1/4 pounds, they can turn around and eat their young of the year. They can eat small bass. A 3 1/4 pound bass can eat a 10-inch bass. A 6-pound bass can eat a 1.5 pound bass, 1.5 bass. So the faster you can get them up to that 18 inches, the better odds you have of boosting them up. So you got to have the right size food to get those bass from 0 to hero, 18 inches, and from there up to trophy sizes by having bigger food sources, bigger food items like largemouth bass. That's when we talk about gizzard shad. We talk about tilapia, feeding bluegill to get bigger bluegill to the backbone of the food chain. Threadfin shad to a lesser extent. Threadfin shad are outstanding to feed intermediate sized bass, that 10 to 14 inch size class, to help boost them up to 18 inches. Threadfin shad are also excellent for hybrid striped bass. So if you're looking to grow some trophy fish faster, look at hybrid striped bass, look at channel catfish, look at blue cats. Now, if you're going to get into that, you got to know and understand each species and what their tendencies are. You can take a channel catfish from a fingerling size, 6 to 8 inches, for example, in the spring, and by the fall, you can have them weighing 1.5 pounds to 2 1/4 pounds. And by the next fall, you can have them pushing above 3 pounds, and by the next fall, they can be bigger than 6 or 7. So you can have 6 to 8 pound channel catfish in 3 years or slightly less than that. And they'll do that because you can feed them, and they'll convert that feed real well. Now, if you're feeding a higher protein feed, they're going to get there faster, but if you're feeding them a catfish food, it'll take them a little bit longer. Now, channel catfish, they don't have to have those high-powered, high-protein feeds. They'll eat those grain-based fish foods, and they're going to gain just fine on that. Now, their conversion rates drop, and their growth rates are not as spectacular. So if you want to grow some, I have grown some channel catfish in private waters over 20 pounds. That's huge. Now, here's the downside to that. If one of your goals is to grow trophy largemouth bass, and you say, well, by the way, I've got some channel catfish, I want to grow them, a 3.5 pound channel catfish will compete with a 2 pound bass for food and space. Now, here's the way it really works. A pond or a lake can support many more pounds of channel catfish than it can bass. A typical pond or a lake with relatively good management can support 60 to maybe 100 pounds of largemouth bass per acre. But if you're feeding your channel catfish, you can grow 1,000 pounds per acre. Now, if you've got 20 catfish that weigh 5 pounds apiece, there you go. There's 100 pounds right there, and you get them up to 10 pounds apiece, there's 200 pounds. So, if you got 200 catfish that weigh 10 pounds apiece, you're at 2,000 pounds. And now, at that point, you got to be paying attention to the limiting factors of what your pond can produce. So, if I'm going to raise some trophy channel catfish, I don't really want to have more than 100 per acre, knowing that a significant portion of those have got the chance to get to be 10, 12, even 15 pounds. Now, smaller waters are not going to get quite as big as they will in bigger waters. I've seen those, channel cat up over 20 pounds, but most of those are in waters 50 acres or bigger. 25 to 30 acres, you can do it in that. A 1 acre pond, if you can grow 10 to 14 pound channel catfish, you're doing pretty good. If you can have 20 of those, you're doing real good. So now blue cat on the other hand, I've seen blue cat in private waters way beyond 50 pounds. But a 50 pound blue cat will eat a 4 pound bass. I've actually sampled, I remember the first time when I first learned this, there was a bass fishing club down south of Houston, and it was on the grounds of an old fish farm down there, and one of the things that the fish farmers grew were blue cats. Well, if they had a few extra blue cats, they'd go throw them in this bass fishing lake, not think much about it. Well, you fast forward a few years, and the bass anglers that were leasing that bass fishing lake were getting a little irritated because their gear was getting torn up by these big catfish. So they hired me to come analyze it. So I headed over there with an electric fishing boat, set some trot lines and some nets, some gill nets and stuff. We caught, within the first 45 minutes, we caught a 52 pound blue cat. And I put it in a concrete holding tank next to the lake where we're pumping water out of the lake so we could get a bunch of fish at once that we wanted to harvest, Well, when we got ready to butcher that 52 pound channel cat, because the club wanted it out, they wanted to fillet it, cut it up, and use it for a fish fry to raise money for their fishing club. That 52 pound blue cat had a bass that weighed just shy of 4 pounds in it. I was shocked. Of course, I was in my 20s, and I didn't have any reason to know that. And now, one thing I want you to know is a blue cat is a top end predator, just like a bass. So is a channel cat. So is a bullhead. I have shocked up bullheads that are 12 inches long, really legitimately good sized bullheads with a 6-inch gizzard shad stuck down their throat. So understand that some of these other trophy fish that you want are going to compete with some of your other trophy fish that you might want. Now, one of the easiest trophy fish to grow are hybrid striped bass. Oh my gosh, those things grow really, really fast. You can grow 10 to 12 pound hybrid stripers if you feed them well, your water's healthy, you got enough open area, you can get them to 12 pounds in 3 years. Now, I know some of you guys are picking yourselves up off the floor, but I've done it and I've seen it. Now, that's really pushing the envelope. And that's also stocking them in fairly light numbers. Now, if you're going to stock hybrid striped bass, most of them are coming out of Keogh fish farms out of Arkansas. Steve Lewis knows those guys. I do too. And but you might be buying them at 6 to 8 inches or 8 to 10 inches from another supplier that has bought them and raised them up like that. So if you stock them like 80 or 100 to the acre, they're going to be more likely to feed, more likely to find your fish food and grow faster, but there's going to be a percentage of them that are going to accelerate and grow really, really fast. Now, when you're stocking channel catfish, blue catfish, or hybrid stripers to grow to trophy sizes, keep this in mind. 99 times out of 100, they're not going to reproduce for you. Those hybrid stripers aren't going to reproduce. Blue cat probably won't. Channel cat won't. If you've got other fish in there, even though they might spawn, their survival rates will be low. So when you're looking at those three types of fish, especially, you're looking at probably restocking every couple of years so you can get kind of ladder stock. So you've got a few fish in there. You come in a couple of years later, add some to recruit into the population. A couple of years later, do it again. Let's see what we got going on here. Jason Rayfield, I'm using an off-brand. Okay, we talked about that. We got that. Harrison Davis. No tornadoes and hurricanes there, just riots and Corona. Well, I wish I had a Corona now with a couple of slices of lime. Ugh. So in the meantime, it's mountain mist, folks. Great. Let's see here. Oops, something skipped away. Let's see here. Chuck Brinkman with Korean Aquamax feeds. I got channel catfish up to 11 pounds in 3.5 years in Missouri. They love the sport fish largemouth. Okay, once those channel catfish get big, that sport fish largemouth bass was designed for feed train largemouth bass. Now, feed train largemouth bass aren't as easy to get now as they used to be. Some of the primary growers have aged out and they've kind of slowed down. So the supply for feed train largemouth bass is not as good as it was 5 or 6 years ago. But Purina Mills developed a fish food for feed train bass. And so what Chuck's talking about there is there's pellets that are about as big around as the end of your thumb that you can feed to channel catfish, which makes them have to work less. And he's got 11 pounds in 3.5 years. That's really fast channel catfish growth. Mark Durham, thanks, Bob. You've helped me with questions years ago, and I appreciate it. I've been out of the loop for the past 6 years due to health issues. Get more involved again in the future. Not sure if you remember me. We discussed Lake Wildwood here in Central. Yeah, I do remember that. You bet, Mark. I sure do. We still need lots of help and qualified advice. I'll be in touch. Holler at me when you're ready. Nate Herman, he's rock solid as well. All right, so guys, throw some questions at me. But in the meantime, the thing about trying to grow other species of trophy fish is really more about the fish food than it is anything else. Hybrid striped bass will eat fish food. Channel catfish will eat fish food. Blue cat will eat fish food. They're all three predators. So even though they'll eat fish food, it's best to not make them completely 100% dependent on that fish food. When that happens, the only ones that are going to get the fish food are the food hogs. And that's the most aggressive fish, which can be your fastest growing fish. So while you may grow a few hybrid stripers up to 10 pounds in 3 years, if all they have to eat is fish food, then there's going to be several of them that are still at 2 pounds. You know, so with hybrid striped bass, for example, they love threadfin shad in the south. And once they get to be a little bigger, gizzard shad's not a bad choice, but be picky because gizzard shad can outgrow mouth size of a hybrid striped bass pretty fast. You know, with channel catfish and blue catfish, they have a hard time keeping up with the reproductive capabilities of bluegills. But bluegills can be a pretty good bait fish for those as well. I'm going to switch to water, boys and girls. The moral of this story is be sure that you have some native species of fish that make sense. Now that's my qualifying statement. Think about that a minute. Make sense. What makes sense? What makes sense if you're going to want to go fishing and try to catch a 15-pound channel cat and you see him coming up to the feed and you put a shrimp on a double-aught hook, a great big hook, and you throw it on the bottom and you wait and all of a sudden you feel bluegill pecking the shrimp off your hook, that doesn't do you any good. So stock fish that are not only good forage fish for your target species, but fish that aren't going to overpopulate and wart you to death while you're trying to catch your target fish. So I'd be paying attention to that. Let's see. Sandra O'Koenig, how many hybrid stripped bass per acre pond? Sandy in South Cackalack, well, I'm going to tell you how many hybrid striped bass. Depending on your goals. If you really want to get aggressive and you want to feed them out and make them grow fast and get bigger, I stock about 100 per acre and be prepared to cull some of those underperformers and slower growers in about the third year, second or third year, depending on how much feed you feed, etc. Now, if you want to just stock them in addition to other fish that are in there, stock them at 50 per acre. Now, if you've already got a well-established pond and you don't want to upset the balance, stock them at 25 per acre. Now, hybrid striped bass really prefer open water. Now, yes, they'll come to structure, but they prefer open water. So if you've got, like a 3-acre pond and over half of it is open water over deep water, hybrid stripers are going to do much, much better in there than if it was a long, skinny pond with a lot of standing timber in it. So as goes the habitat, so goes what lives in it. Study about these different fish and understand their habitats. Channel catfish get a really bad rap, in my opinion. People think that they're scavengers. They're not scavengers. Bullheads are scavengers, but they're not totally scavengers. Channel catfish are like teenage boys. When they go to the refrigerator, they're looking for meat. If they don't have meat, they'll eat vegetables. They're not going to go hungry. Where a blue catfish is more of a gray poupon fish. It's going to eat only what it wants to eat. It would rather starve to death than nibble on your bushy pondweed. They would rather go eat another fish. That's what they're going to do. When the largemouth bass, same way. Hybrid stripers, they'll eat fish food and bait fish. Hybrid stripers will eat shrimp. They'll eat crawfish. They'll eat, but they love shad. So if you're in a place where you can have threadfin shad, that is the go-to fish for hybrid striped bass. Let's see here. There's Skoog checking in the new pond stocking. Is there any risk to initial catfish failing stocking being preyed upon? By birds or land varmints? Not really. Channel catfish, when you stock them in there, if they're good, healthy fish, I think where they get that bad rap of being a bottom feeder is they're nocturnal. So channel catfish are real skittish. For example, here's exactly what I'm talking about. If you're fishing for a bass, or if you're fishing and your lure hits the water, a bass is going to come to it, a channel cat's going to run from it. Then the channel cat's going to turn around and come back and investigate it unless it's hungry. If it's 2 or 3 pounds and hungry, it'll hit that Senko and it will eat it. But their nature is to be skittish and nocturnal. They would much rather feed in the dark of the moon and be active in the dark of the moon. That's what they like. And because of that, that makes them go down into deeper waters. So channel catfish that are healthy, that are stocked with the least amount of stress, they're going to head towards some kind of cover in deeper water, and land varmints and birds should not be getting those channel cat. Now, when they will get them, it's like any other fish. If you're feeding the fish, the feeder goes off, and you've got a great blue heron that's conditioned himself to fly in and snag a meal when the feeder goes off, change the timing on the feeder. Feed at night so those great blue herons can't interfere. Let's see here, Harrison. Let's see, Chad Bowman, the Bullhead Man. Boy, I bet you love that nickname. I've been watching the Matt Rails Facebook page, and they're chiming in over there with you, buddy. I'm at the pond washing my small bass and 3-pound channel catfish, try to control thousands of gizzard shad. Well, the good news is they will eat them. The bad news is I don't know how they're going to control them, but you got time on your side, so we'll see what happens. Harrison Davis, what 2 different species of fish could you grow to trophy sizes? Well, simultaneously in a pond, realistically. You can grow channel catfish to trophy sizes and hybrid stripers. They live in 2 different niches, and they'll feed in 2 different niches. So those are 2 that you could grow side by side. And if you had some feed-trained largemouth bass, if you get your hands on some of those, that's a 3rd fish that you could grow in with those other 2 and expect to grow some fish to trophy sizes. Let's see, Travis Paul Smith has caught an 8-pound blue cat on a crankbait and link fork. I totally believe that. Now the thing about blue cats is they are solely predator fish. So you're more likely to hook a blue cat on an artificial bait than you are to catch a channel cat. Now, that's not saying you won't catch a channel cat, because you can't. Because when they're hungry, they're going to eat. But those blue cat, holy cow, I've seen those things chase lures It's fun. I've even caught one on top water one time in a private lake. You know, they were used to eating fish food, floating fish food, and I was jerking a little oh hell, what is it? You know, you guys tell me. It's got the open mouth and a skirt on it. It's a popping lure, a topwater lure. Come on, come on. It's not coming to me. It's going to come to you. Somebody's going to type it in, and I'm going to be embarrassed. Hula popper. There it is. Oh, I remember the hula popper. I caught a big blue cat on a hula popper one time. And that was a hoot. That was a lot of fun. There's Clark Cole checking in from over Weatherford, Texas. Got some great fun memories with Clark Cole back in the 80s. Hula popper. There it comes. Yeah, everybody. Oh, hell, everybody got it but me. Good, guys. That is so freaking funny. I love that. Let's see what we got. Tom Blasdell, hula. Trey Carpenter, hula popper. Fred Bingham, hula popper. Dion Myers, Dave. I love you guys. That's so cool. You guys knew what I was talking about. That's good. That's good stuff. That's meat right there. So, let's see. Travis thought he said he had a large bass. Fought like it. Yeah, they do. Those blue cats, they run. Blue cats run kind of like a hybrid striper. Oh, you know what? Something else. Let me tell you about hybrid striped bass. If you want to grow hybrid striped bass for trophy sizes, one thing I would tell you to do is invest some knowledge in how to handle them in hot weather. Hybrid striped bass and striped bass particularly are notorious for fighting to their death, and they don't like hot water. So if you catch one in water that's 81, 82 degrees and you want to release it, you may need to revive it before you release it. And that's a topic for another day. No, hell no. It's a good topic for now. If you could build you a live well where you can inject pure oxygen into it, then you can take, after you've caught a hybrid striper and it's exhausted, you can put it in that live well with pure oxygen bubbling through a diffuser, a micro diffuser. Then you can renovate there, get that fish ramped back up where you can turn it loose. Because if you turn it loose after it's fought to the death, it's going to die. Now, the other hint is when you catch one, catch it fast. You know, don't play it out. Don't let it play itself down. Get it in. Okay, Trey says to keep rambling. I do that a lot. Chance Birch, what type of shad and rates would I need to stock on 2 acres pond with bass and catfish already established? Chance, I don't remember where you are, but if you are south of a line that goes, say, from southern Oklahoma through southern Arkansas through middle Tennessee, then turning up, going through the Carolinas to about Virginia, and south and east of that, threadfin shad are a good choice. Yep, Travis Paul Smith. Don't pay the dumb tags. We've talked about that before, haven't we? Tuskegee. Yeah, you know what? Chance threadfins will live really well in Tuskegee. You can get some of those from American Sport Fish. They come through there all the time. Ugh. I'm going to go pour this out. Terrible. All right, so Chad Bowman says, now that the bullheads seem to be in control, how do I control the green sunfish, largemouth bass? Green sunfish will eat those largemouth bass. Backwards. Largemouth bass will eat those green sunfish. They'll wear them out. They will work them over. So I would encourage you to use largemouth bass. Get as many bass as big as you can, and they will work those green sunfish to death. Well, hey guys, we're getting close to the end here. About to run out of time. I got to meet up. One of the side benefits of what I get to do is I get to meet some cool people. I met a top flight last week when I went to Ransom Canyon Lake over near Lubbock, that 97-acre lake. I met a fellow over there that's in the videographer business. He'd been watching some of these videos, and he's seen what I do, and he says, you know what? I can help you improve your videos. I said, man, I'd love to do that. You know, it seems to be entertaining for folks, but they're looking at a talking head. He said, well, there's some apps that we can do, and I'd like to coach you through that, where you can bring in guests again. You know, I used to be able to bring in guests live on Facebook, but hadn't been able to do that in a while. And I can show some PowerPoints or show some photographs. So I'm going to spend a little time with him over the next couple of weeks and see if I can learn how to do that. And I'm kind of excited about that. So that'll be fun. And try to make this a little bit more quality broadcast. And also, one thing that was kind of cool, my good friend Mark McDonald, who's the founding editor of Palm Boss Magazine, I invited him to come participate in this lake survey. He lives in Midland, which is about a 2-hour ride to Ransom Canyon. So he hopped over there and spent time in the boat. So we got to have some pretty good conversations. And Mark, right now, is working on a 3-part series about this project. So if you haven't subscribed to Pond Boss, there's a good reason to do that, because you're going to read something in his series that can apply to your lake and your pond, I promise you. Gizzard Shad. Oh, okay. So now that the bullheads seem to be in control, how do I control the GS? That's green sunfish to me. Gizzard Shad. You know, one of the best ways to control gizzard shad is when their population gets so dense, and where you are out there near Cisco, Abilene, that area, when you get a really, really hard cold front on top of some old gizzard shad, they're going to die. Now, they're not all going to die. Here, let me tell you, you guys will be interested in this before I cut loose. Gizzard shad give off a pheromone, and when the density of that population of gizzard shad gets so thick that reproduction is going to be decimating to that population, that pheromone gets dense enough that it inhibits reproduction. So you wind up, instead of having a few big ones and a zillion little ones, you wind up with all big ones. And then they decline, and with age, because the gizzard shad doesn't live but 4 or 5 years old typically. And once they get to that density and their body quality deteriorates, and you get some harsh weather, it will kill them, then the numbers will plummet. Now, there'll be a few that don't die. Those fish are going to want to reproduce next year to replenish the population. And that's how nature works. Okay, here, Travis says, the family's doing great. Matter of fact, last Wednesday, when I left Lubbock, came over here, dropped off the electric fishing boat, I hoofed it down west of Houston and babysat 2 grandchildren. And oh my gosh, one of them you can't keep his clothes on. And I'm so glad they live in the country. We got to put he thinks he's King David and I'm Papa Giant. So he's trying to chase me around with a slingshot, trying to put a rock between my eyes. So Debbie found it, or his mama found this with Debbie telling her about it, this kind of a PFD suit. Well, it looks like he's got big muscles. The little turd's like 2.5 years old. And he's chasing me around trying to hit me with a slingshot. And we got this suit on him in case he hoofs it to the pond, because he's way faster than I'll ever want to be at this age. We don't want him falling into the lake, to the pond. We want him to at least float to the shore so I can cast the lure out and reel a little fart in. Great fun. So let's see here. Cheech and Low. Man, I don't know how to pronounce your name. I'm going to call it Cheech and Low. Cheech and Low. You're going to have to call me and tell me. Palm Boss question. What lure do I use so I can catch bass all the time? You know what? It's really funny. When you start talking to bass anglers, everyone has their favorite lure. And in my opinion, the lure you use is the one that you're most confident in that you catch the fish on. Now, that might be soft plastics. It might be a spinnerbait. Might be a crankbait. Might be a topwater bait. So my advice to you is to learn about the water that you're fishing and figure out what you can do the best with. It might be a Senko that flutters down through the water. It might be a jig, but one of the things good anglers were going to tell you is every angler has their go-to bait that they're confident in. And what's crazy is they're right, because it works for them. All right, Sean Peters, Josie. Yeah, Josie, it is pretty funny. Debbie and I chasing these 2 little kids around. One of them's 5 and his little brother's 2.5. It's just a hoot. Harrison Davis, great show. All right, hey, thanks. Appreciate you guys checking in. My voice is about to go again. I've been talking too much. Like Trey says, I've been rambling, been keeping on rambling. So next, I plan on seeing you guys next week, and maybe we can do something a little different if I learn this between now and then. But in the meantime, you guys hang out, stay safe from this hurricane and rough weather coming up, and appreciate you tuning in. We will see you next Wednesday. Adios.